And hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday evening. That red light is on, which means this episode of Under Review is officially live. I apologize for the delay. Tech issues happen at the times where they're probably the most inconvenient, and that was unfortunately tonight. But we carry on, we press on, and we have a very fun mock draft in store for all of you. If you are joining us live tonight, I encourage you all to follow along, give us some picks, even do a mock draft of your own and tell us who you're picking. We'll be happy to throw them up on the board. I am joined by Cover One's very own David Fox and Thomas DeLoss, who will be helping me navigate the ever so realistic, ever so fun PFF board for tonight's Buffalo Bills mock draft. Thank you all so much again for being here on this week's episode of Under Review. My name is Joe DeRosa. You can find me on Twitter at show_DeRosa. And without further ado, let's go, and I hope this works.
Previous play will go under review.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. A totally random question, but did that intro play on your end? Because I did not see a thing.
It worked for me, so yeah.
It looked very nice.
All right, well, thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Well, I'm so happy that the night I debuted the brand new intro for Under Review is the night I don't see it on my end and everything is falling apart. So that's awesome. But everybody, thank you all so much for being here on this week's episode. Thomas, Dave, again, guys, thank you. I appreciate it. Thomas, I'm going to start with you. How you doing tonight? How we feeling?
We're doing good. Like I tweeted earlier today, my son is again sick. I feel like this is a theme that is reoccurring on my show and now on somebody else's show. So, good.
I'm glad to hear you're good. I'm sorry the little man is sick, and I'm hoping he gets better very, very, very soon. Listen, I am not a father, but I do have a nephew who has been sick, and I've seen the toll that can take. So I'm hoping he makes a speedy recovery, and all will be well soon. David, how you doing tonight, man?
It's a long month. It's a long month, and this is going to be a long week leading up to Easter. I work at a church. Holy Week is always a very busy time of week, so we're doing great.
I am glad you're doing great, and I appreciate, again, you guys being here. This is honestly in the wake of draft season. I know this episode is going to be a little bit more casual than episodes past because mock drafts are all the rage right now, usually the case at this time of year. And I think that I wanted to get one going on this show and just see what the board looks like for us and really just what we could come up with. And I know that Greg did one, David, I know you did one with Uber yesterday on your show, and I love how all these boards are falling into place. And I just really enjoyed the discourse around them. So without further ado, let's pull this up. And by without further ado, I mean, let's wait like 30 seconds on my side. Oh no, it worked instantly. That is a beautiful thing. Listen, this is one of those nights where everything was falling apart. So I am a broken man just trying to truck along for the rest of the show. But everybody, if you are in our show watching live in the comment section, I want to ask you first and foremost, drop a like on this video if you could be so kind. We truly appreciate it. Even though everything has been broken and glitchy and whatnot, your like is greatly appreciated. It helps our channel out. It helps the boys out. And it's a really nice thing to do for someone you love or possibly hate. And the other thing I want to ask you to do is suggestions, players you want to take, anyone you feel like mentioning. Throw them into the comments. I'm going to be back and forth between tabs, but I just want very curious what everyone's kind of opinion on the board is, positions you like, things you want to see as we go through this board. But gentlemen, are you ready to rock?
I'm ready when you're ready.
Yeah, let's do this. I'm excited.
All right. So I am going to keep this. I am going to keep the speed like semi-fast. Like I'm not going to go turbo because turbo you don't see anything. I'd like to have at least some degree of like vision, but I also don't want to make it too slow because it's like painful, especially when you get to like the later rounds. I also didn't tell either of these guys that this is going to be 7 rounds, but it's a 7-round mock draft. So jokes on you.
What other kind of mock draft is there? Come on.
Well, I've seen people do 3. I've seen people do 5, and I get it. But like,
I get it, but also that's amateur hour. So
no, we go all 7. And if there's people whose names I've never seen before or have only briefly read about, I'm picking them. Damn it, whether you like it or not.
I picked a guy last night because he was a 6'5" safety. And I've never seen a 6'5" safety in my life. So I
was
it
James
Williams?
James,
Yeah,
yeah, I know.
Williams.
I've known about Cam Kinchins to the point where I haven't bothered looking as much into James Williams, except for frame, except for I guess he's a 2-way kind of safety linebacker hybrid. But if he's there
and
it
our
makes sense,
defensive backs coach coached him.
Yes.
Which is
yes, exactly. All right, gentlemen, let's get into this one. So before we actually start our board here, any trades you can think of making to start, or do you want to see how this shakes out?
I'm fine trading up to 15 to get Brian Thomas Jr., but that's just my own prerogative.
I'd rather see how everything just falls.
That's fine.
So
I am also in team let's see how it falls, but what I think I'll do is, assuming I can quick pause fast enough, I'll get to pick 20, around where the Steelers, Eagles, Dolphins range is, and see what the board's looking like from there. And I'm going to ask you guys one question when we get to that point, but let's start the draft now. Kick it off. All right.
Let's go. Holy fast.
All right. I'm going to stop it here at the Bengals. So Latu is gone. Brian Thomas Jr. is gone. So you were right to pick up to 15, Thomas, because he got snagged by the Colts. Damn, you called it.
The Colts? Really?
Yeah, it's realistic.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, they've only got one true wide receiver.
I mean,
Still.
Pittman, Josh Downs, they have a couple tight ends. I would understand it. I would, but
I mean, they got Josh Downs as a slot receiver and one boundary. Alec Pierce, I don't think returned. If he does, he's probably
Pierce.
1 year left. He's fine. He's a good 3 to 4.
Look at this. Marvin Harrison dropped to 9. Turner.
Okay.
Odunze. So Neighbors went to the Cards. So your first 3 are Williams, May, and Jaden Daniels, which I could actually see happening. Although I think the Commanders are going to do a very Commanders move and either trade out of that spot or not pick Drake May, which
I keep hearing they might take JJ McCarthy.
I think it's all a bunch of smoke. And
also
people
mirrors.
are just getting bored.
I mean,
Also true.
people might be getting quite bored, and that usually happens every year. I will say this. I like JJ McCarthy. I think he's a first-round quarterback. I just wouldn't take him over Drake May. If May is on the board, that's my guy. But that's not my problem to have. All right, so we got the Bengals here at 18. I'm going to resume it because I don't think there's really anything to trade up for right now. Also, wait, real fast, let me check. Byron Murphy's still on the board. There is a chance. I don't like our odds, but let's see.
I will say this. Pause that real quick. I did notice one thing, and I didn't tweet this out, but I thought it interesting. If you didn't watch Brandon Beane, who was on Pat McAfee's show earlier today, he was on there for quite a bit. He was 20 minutes segment with him, which was great, and he answered a ton of questions. But one thing that he did say, which I found, I don't know if it's smokescreen, I don't know if it's fodder, I don't know really what it is, but I do think it's something. He said that he doesn't think this year there's a DeMarcus Lawrence or a Chris Jones or that type of defensive tackle, that the real defensive tackle, the sweet spot is the second and third round.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting that, he put it that way, saying, getting a defensive tackle in the second and third round is really where he's looking. Because that kind of takes me out of the Jazir Newton, Byron Murphy, that group. Does he not see them in that same ilk?
My stance on Newton is I kind of share a lot of the same sentiment that I've seen people say, where it's kind of well, you have Ed and you have Daquan Jones, and Newton's not your conventional 1T, so would it make sense? But my retort is he's good. He's a good prospect. He's disruptive. He's explosive. I think there's a thing we do where, and this is kind of relating to what Bean said, because I do understand that point, but I also think it kind of falls into, yes, at some point there is a sweet spot, and yes, maybe there's redundancy to what you take at 28 versus the later rounds. But at the same time, if this is a can't miss guy with high value, and Bean even said this too later on in that show, you got to do it. You got to pull the trigger. They're not going to sell themselves out for wide receiver 8 just to pass up on DT3 or edge 3 or edge 4. Now, in our mock draft here, unfortunately, all the edges are gone, but we're in an interesting position because Minnesota just traded. They're at 23. Or no, Minnesota has this pick. I don't remember. But
Minnesota
they're at
has
20.
this pick.
They have this.
Yeah,
pick. Okay.
this was one of the 2 picks that they've got in the first round.
Got you. Oh, right, because they did that trade up. So then it's Minnesota, Dallas, Green Bay, Tampa, Cardinals. So Murphy's still in play. Do you think we could make something happen here? Do you want to try and trade up to try and snag him, or do you think we let this fall? What do you guys want to do?
I'd rather just let this play. So hold on.
Can we see what wide receivers are available, by the way?
Yeah.
Can you boys remind me how to check big board, right? It's been so long since I've done this live, and I usually just let the board fall. I'm glad I'm not the only one who's...
It's not the most intuitive format, I'll say that. I'm pretty sure...
Pete offends is much better. Watch us reset the draft.
Oh,
no. Nope.
Yeah, no.
Did it just do that?
No. We're still in it. Do they...
Okay.
Can you even see it?
You can. You should be.
Anyway.
I'm so glad I'm not alone in this.
So hold on,
I gotta
just
pull it up on
scroll back through this to where the Colts were at their pick, so we could just sort of see exactly.
I think it's 4 wide receivers have gone. It's been Brian Thomas.
Here, I'll take you back.
I'll take you back.
So it was Neighbors to start to Arizona, Odunze at 7, Harrison at 9, and then Brian Thomas at 15. Bowers went at 18. Obviously it doesn't count, but you know what I mean.
That's a great spot for him, though.
No, oh yeah. Oh, he would eat in Cincy. I don't think he actually drops that.
Another receiving tight end for Cincinnati. What are they doing? I don't. Whatever.
I mean, yes, but Bowers is like, it's kind of my same thing before. That dude is.
I got it.
He's wild.
So they have, there's nobody else. Nobody else that's been taken outside of those 4.
Okay.
And
Newton's
defensive tackle.
Sorry, Thomas.
Is Newton still available? No. I'm sorry. I'm trying to take over your show there.
You're good.
But those 4 receivers are the only ones that have, and obviously the defensive ends. I'm not in the camp. I'm kind of with David. I don't really want to trade up for a defensive tackle because from 28 to 23, I think you're giving up a 4th. Let me see.
There's enough depth in this interior defensive line group where I'm okay with waiting on that if you feel like you get the value there. But
it's a late 3rd to move from 28 to 23.
Yeah. But for the edge group, it's that top 3 of Latu and Turner and Verse, and if you don't get one of those 3, you're kind of looking at late day 2, day 3 in order to get the guys that are worth the pick that you're spending, right?
Yeah.
It's not the best edge group.
I know because I'm also a Murphy stan, so I know damn well if he doesn't go to Minnesota, it's going to be Dallas or Arizona that snags him. Probably. That's usually how these boards fall, but
honestly, I think you would just be best suited because first off, I wouldn't trade. The only way I'd trade, if we're being honest, one, and I don't know who said it, but I think it was perfectly accurate. Why are we going to trade up and why are we going to draft the backup to Ed Oliver in the first round, right? Because Murphy and Newton are not going to play 1 tack; they're going to play a 3 tack. So you'd be taking Ed Oliver off the field. If I'm going to trade up, I'm trading up for somebody that's a bona fide starter, a defensive end or wide receiver or safety for that matter. But if I'm going to do safety, the only guy willing is Tyler Nubin, but I'm not going to trade up for him because I think I can get him at 28.
I wouldn't trade for safety. I agree with that. I will say, though, to counter it, I think it's every position that you have currently has a starter. It's top heavy. Every cornerbacks. I mean, safety is really the only one, like you said, but I wouldn't trade up for it. So unless I didn't like how the board fell to me, I could justify taking safety. I would even justify taking a center too, because I do think that while McGovern is taking that spot and he is your starter, that's one where I think getting a Jackson Powers Johnson is the one you need to do because he's a generational prospect, or at least one that is very highly touted. So okay, I will not cave into my intrusive thoughts. I will let this board shake out. I'm going to let it go down to 28. Let's see what happens. And also, PFF. No board unless I continue, but then it's going to go and I don't know. All right, let's go. We've kept the people waiting for too long. Oh! Okay. Sorry for screaming. Sorry for ruining eardrums, everybody. I apologize. And I feel so bad for anyone. No, I don't think this show with an audio base is going to make much sense. However, if you are somehow sick enough to listen to this show in a recording for a mock draft, I am so sorry for blowing out your eardrums. But Byron Murphy,
see what wide receivers are available in terms of at this point?
All right. I'll look. 80 Mitchell, Ladd, Troy, Roman Wilson, Ricky Pearsall, Burton, Coleman, basically like what you're expecting for the second round. Jalen Polk, Xavier Legette,
Right.
Millen. Worthy is
So-
really low down. I didn't realize
What
that,
are
right?
the options in terms of? Is there any trade offers?
Yes, we have. I can't even see my screen.
So with PFF, there's not trade offers. There's just teams that are interested in trading with you, and then you make the trades.
Yeah.
You like select, which is
So-
dumb and annoying.
Baltimore, Carolina, Washington. So I'll say the picks too, because no one knows off the top of their head. But Ravens pick 30, Panthers pick 33, Commanders pick 36, and then the Jags at 40. I'm not even going to read the rest because it goes down to like pick 108. And we're not going to trade back to pick 108. But I would say the Ravens at Panthers and Commanders would be the three I'd entertain.
I would.
Again,
What about would they do? I think it'd be too much. But can you trade back to like the Commanders 36
that's
and
what I
maybe
got
pick
prompted.
up like 78 potentially?
They have it's a 61% chance to be accepted. So we'd have to sweeten the pot with like maybe a fourth rounder or like a fifth
I'm not
rounder.
giving up a fourth for that.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, 36 to 28, I don't have the value board in front of me, but I think 78 would be a fair compromise. And I'm surprised it's not a higher percentage. So
36. So 28 to 36 is
8 spot drop off.
37 points, which in comparison, 78. 78's a little more. It's 59 points, so it's about a 21 point swing. So realistically, if you had given them pick 128 and got 78, which you're moving up 50 spots, you're gaining 50 spots on that pick. You're getting a third rounder, which has been desired, and it's a little higher than mid of the third, and you're dropping back 8 spots.
Yeah. I don't know if
You
I
could
wanna
also
do-
try to see if they'll just take it straight up 28 for those two.
Well, I'll ask my partners here tonight. Do you guys think that you'd want to trade back to 36? Do you want to see the other two? Well, I mean, you're not nearly going to get as much for Carolina or Baltimore.
So, given who's on the board currently, right, which would be Byron Murphy, Jackson Powers Johnson, I mean, I'd be interested in either of those two, and I know that if you trade back, you're not getting either of those two. So, is that worth giving up those spots? Is it worth moving back in order to get someone else and get some extra picks and also give up these other guys, right? Like, because I like Jackson Powers Johnson a lot, and I like the idea of getting a high value, maybe backup offensive lineman, but I don't even view him as that. I'd rather see him compete with David Edwards for that starting left guard spot. Yeah, I just sort of feel like somebody like Jackson Powers Johnson is such a good player and fits what they want to do offensively, and you can also never have enough offensive linemen in the NFL, especially in today's NFL.
I agree with that. Oh, this is so tough. I'm like at a complete loss. I don't know what I want to do because I love either of these two options right here.
For those who are asking if Adonai Mitchell is worth picking here, or if
Just take Mitchell.
You should just take Mitchell, you're wrong, and I will not tolerate that in this particular mock draft.
Here's my sentiment, though. You can take one of them, right? Or you can give yourself the possibility of 36, 78, or 36, 60, and 78. 3 picks in the top 80, which are a sweet spot, right? Yeah, we can get Jackson Powers Johnson. Byron Murphy is not going to start, but you get Jackson Powers Johnson. He could start. We don't know. We don't know how things are going to shake out. Or if you drop back to 36, you could get one of the starting wide receivers, or potentially Tyler Nubin, starting safety for the next 10 years. You can get one of a really good wide receiver at 60 and still get a really good defensive tackle at 78. My thing is the drop off from Jackson Powers Byron Murphy to maybe a Dwayne Carter as massive, right? Or a Jackson Powers Johnson, I know is a big difference from Zach Zinter, but gaining that extra pick in the middle and jumping 50 spots. I just think I don't know. I would gain that 50 spots all day long, going from 128 to 78. You're getting so much more there.
Shout out to Roy. Yeah, we should take a punter in the first round right here.
Obviously.
Yeah, definitely. So my favorite thing about this chat right now is I am seeing like 8 different players mentioned, and I'm seeing like all different directions of what people would do here. And that's why I love and also hate draft season, because we are all on completely different ends. Like I've seen Murphy, you can't miss on him. I would love JPJ. Why are you guys not taking Mitchell? Like this is a beautiful thing we got here. So
how about we do this? How about in the chat we do 1 for Byron Murphy, 2 for Jackson Powers Johnson, and 3 for trade back.
I'm with this.
And,
yeah. All right.
And put your option as to what they think.
You guys would make horrible GMs. You would be fired in the first year. Well, our pick would be up by now, so that would probably
I know,
check
right?
out. We would be Vikings big time. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna screenshot this, by the way, Black Panther. Thank you for this. All right, let's say someone wrote 69. Shout out to Judge. Thank you for watching, Judge. All right, we got 2 for 1.
Technically, 69 is both divisible by 3, so I think he means trade back. So
that's a good point.
I'm counting 69 as a trade back. All right.
Yeah.
I'm seeing. Oh, this is tough, dude. They're coming in
23.1.
All right.
I think trade back is definitely in the lead.
All right, we're trading back,
Joe's
guys.
Holding on hope for potentially getting Byron Murphy.
All right, so now the question is, we're going to do Commanders, 36. I'll try to snag 78, offer up 28. Let's see if 28 alone works first.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right. So just pick 28, got us 36 and 78. You sickos. I hope you're happy with what you've done. When Byron Murphy's on a different team flourishing, I'll remember this. Let's resume our draft. All right, let's look at our board. So you got Newbin, Peyton Wilson, Zach Frazier. You all see it.
Okay.
You all see it. You all know. Anyone who
Beehive.
watches this show, you all know. The McConkey Hive. There's goosebumps on my skin. There's a sweat dripping down my head. I don't know, man.
Would you say that's like a train horn or like a wide receiver train?
That sounds like a train horn. Chad, do you think that's a train horn? Does it sound like a train horn to you? I am curious, though.
Did not know there were sound effects with this.
That is amazing. All right, well, let's look at our receivers. Conky, Franklin, Roman Wilson. So who took Worthy? Did Worthy get taken? Oh, no, he did.
He's right there.
Yeah.
Wow. What? I thought his
So
rank was
technically, if
much
you
higher.
wanted, you could take Tyler Newbin, which would be a bona fide stud for the Bills. Fits everything you want. And then you could take like a Worthy in that next pick right there.
I love Pops Mafia wants to trade down again.
Of
You
course,
guys are sickos. We're gonna get 16 picks in this draft. I love this so much.
just get 30 picks all on day 3. Yeah, just keep throwing
Bunch of
those
seventh-
darts.
Bunch of 6th round offensive tackles.
Yeah,
I'm so glad we're doing this episode. This is so much fun, and I love this chat so much with all of these different takes. Bro said no to A.G. Mitchell, but yes to McConkley.
yes.
McConkley.
Oh,
100%. Yes.
I'm sorry that I like good players and like. Okay.
Just because we like Ladle McClonkley does not mean anything. Okay.
I what do you say? A.D. Mitchell's a legit stud. When we be close to there, I think he's going to be there at 28. But let's see here. Are Worthy and Leggett way down on PFF's board? Leggett got snagged, I think, by New England in this.
Yes. Right there, 34.
Yes. So, look, Byron Murphy went to the Lions. That's badass. Actually, he'd be in the NFC. I'm okay with that.
Respectfully, the Trek reviewer, nobody is Ted Washington. You're talking one of the greatest zero techs to ever play the game. Ever.
So, go back to what RJ says here about Nubbin and them Worthy. So, I'm really not interested in safety in this like first couple of rounds unless it's Cooper DeJean just falling straight into their laps at 28. Mm-hmm. And everyone else is kind of like, I trust this coaching staff and this team to develop late round defensive backs more than I do developing like defensive linemen, let's say, or getting a top end wide receiver that can actually be helpful. So That would be more my thought process on this. Yeah.
Disrespect DTD again, David. I dare you to. What is this? All right, so Jenny, I'll say this. If you're right about this, if he gets taken like in the teens, you're invited to come back to this chat and I will happily crown you and give you all your props live. I am happy to do it. I will stand on it. Trust me. You just got to remind me because I do forget a lot. But okay. I think right now I'm comfortable with taking Lad because I think the safety drop off isn't going to be terrible when we get down to 60. But I also want to see one thing real fast before I decide on this for sure. I want to just check DL. I hate that they do that.
It's so annoying.
So Fisky ranked 39, but I think you can get a horror. I can't even say it right now. Rook
Rook Aquaro.
What?
Aquaro.
Is that actually? Wait, really?
Aquaro.
That's how you say it? I didn't even know that.
That can't
I thought it was
possibly be true.
Where did you? Okay, Rook
Aquaro.
Rook Aquaro. I don't know if I want to go D-line here.
I don't
think whatever I just said sounds significantly more intelligent than whatever came out of your mouth before when you tried to pronounce.
But that's not actually how it's pronounced. I just stuttered. But anyways, yeah, I think we can wait on D-line here. If Murphy wasn't there, I'm willing to wait until like the till pick 60. So what do you guys think? You cool receiver? We got to pick somebody because we're terrible GMs right now. We've been waiting too long. I apologize for how long this has taken. But
I am all for Lad McConkey.
Me too. Thomas, any opposition here?
I love Lad McConkey. I mean, personally, I'd probably go Tyler Nubin just because of being a senior starter, and I don't know.
Got it.
That's my but I'm fine either way.
Aurora, that's right. So a few weeks ago when we were talking, I had Ant on the show. Before we went live, I was asking him because I hadn't ever heard his name pronounced. I was looking for it, but and he was telling me like it's like saying it quick is just tough. It's just like it's a tongue twister. So thank you very much for this comment. I appreciate it. And if he ever watches this, I apologize for butchering your name. I will learn it if we draft you. I promise. But I'm taking Lad McConkey. Lad McConkey, first pick. I'm sorry to AD Mitchell fans around the world. This is my guy. I want to do this.
Don't apologize for being right.
All right. Let's let this play out now. We need to make picks, guys. We have all the rest of our draft. We've made one pick, and it's 8:03. Oh, Michael Penix. There we go.
Obviously.
Oh, shit. You guys want to take Rook?
No, but I would like taking Chris Jenkins.
Chris Jenkins? Yeah, I mean, the red.
So apparently the pronunciation is or. Interesting.
So right now our board is Penix, no. Burton, no. I'm good on Burton. Jonah Ellis, I mean, I don't think I'd do that over interior D-line.
I wouldn't take Jonah Ellis this high. It seems rich for me.
Yeah, I think D-line or safety is Christian Haynes is up here too, though. So, I mean, if you're talking about maybe a young guy to compete with Edwards, this is a guy that I would definitely consider. He looks like a stud. I mean, I think he benefits you in pass pro and run blocking. I would consider it, but there's some very competitive names here. So let's see. We got anyone here? You guys skip on Mitchell. Fired. Thank you so much. And also, Thomas, I'm sorry. Roy has fired you, so I apologize. You're going to have to drop out now. That is the rule.
Okay. I'll see you on Thursday.
Roy, you're officially hired. Join us. Just if you call for someone getting fired on our panel, you have to be hired. That's the rule.
That's true.
So, Roy Collins, you are officially invited up to the board. Thank you for being here, Roy. We love you. Anyways, moving on. I think it's, for me, my personal opinion, I'm going with one of Haynes, Hicks, Jenkins, or Rook. That's my four in this to pick. So I guess you guys, I'll start with you, David. Give me your suggestions here. What do you think? What are you leaning to?
I like Chris Jenkins because even though you have Daquan Jones and Austin Johnson as your sort of rotation at one tech, they're basically the short-term solutions, right? Like Austin Johnson's on 1-year deal, Daquan Jones is on a 2-year deal. Like you need to, and they're both 30 plus years old. So you need to be able to bring in somebody that's going to be not just younger, but also cost controlled as well. So you have him under a pretty cheap contract for the next 4 years, putting him next to Ed Oliver, who already has his long-term extension. So I like Chris Jenkins a lot. I think that the type of defense that Michigan ran fits well with what the Bills like to do. It's very NFL ready. So I'm definitely intrigued by Chris Jenkins more than pretty much everyone else on the board at the moment.
I gotcha. Thomas, before I get to you, I only say no Burton because we just took Ladd. I just want to use this pick for a different position. That's my only reasoning. It's nothing against Burton as a prospect. Like, if he's their second round choice, I'll be happy about it. But we just took Ladd, so I don't want to go receiver double dip. Thomas, what do you think about this?
Can you scroll down a little bit?
No. All right, let's see.
Okay, let's see.
No, I said pick these four, and these four only.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this right now. People are going to hate this, by the way. I'm not a Tavondre Sweat fan. Thomas, what do you think?
Okay, go back up for me real quick.
Gotcha.
I think, to be honest with you, can you scroll up all the way?
More. Sorry.
Thank you. Okay. I think, to be honest with you, I'm fine between Haynes and Jenkins. I think either one of those are a good move right there. You're seeing now. I mean, look at what the guard movement was in free agency. The cost is exorbitant. So I'd be okay going guard right out of the gate. You know, you got both your tackles. We know next year Spencer Brown is going to be at the end of his contract. So if you can lock up 3 of your major pieces on that offensive line, and then maybe later in the draft, maybe get a Zach Zinter, to play center, then you got like a quality offensive line for years to come. I don't know, just a potential, but I mean, normally when it comes to guards, when you take a guard early in the draft, it's a guy that's going to be on your team for like 10 years.
Yeah, so my logic for this, I think David, you said it well, and I agree with you. I think that one tech is going to be a need sooner rather than later. And I honestly think like it's a need now, despite having your guys there, because even though you have your starter there, like Daquan Jones came off a torn pec. I hope he plays to the level he was playing at last year for a full season, and I want to believe he will. But you never know, just considering the age he is and what that injury might look like next year, if it ends up being like something that happens again or if something else happens, because there has been some ding up, not long term, but, like in the playoff game 2 years ago. And then you talk about last season. I just have some concern that we're going to lean too heavily on Daquan Jones and possibly go down again. And then you're talking about what do we do there? And you have Austin Johnson, but I'd rather him be rotational. I think with Chris Jenkins, if you have someone that could be young 20s, able to fill that role for you, basically your 1C of the future that gets rotated in, but by choice rather than being like immediate need. And then heaven forbid you got to break glass in case of emergency because both guys go down or you don't want Johnson filling the starting spot. I think this is the guy. So for that reason, I'm taking Chris Jenkins.
I will say this. Chris Jenkins has primarily played 3 and 4 tech. If you want to play a guy that's primarily played 1 tech, that's going to be Rook.
Is that going to be Rook?
But we're also talking about we're not talking about somebody that needs to be this like constant plug as taking on 2 blockers and on every single down. And maybe this defense changes a bit with Eric Washington leaving as the defensive line coach, with God, what's his name? Defensive Bobby Babich, thank you, me. So with Bobby Babich as the new defensive coordinator, maybe there are changes, but for the most part, this defense has always been about like getting penetration and getting upfield versus like playing a more traditional style of like get your one technique to eat up a bunch of blocks and blah blah blah. Now, Daquan Jones and Austin Johnson can't do that, and it's important that they can do that. But I don't think I don't want to get caught into a box that may not fit exactly what the Bills actually do. It's sort of in the same way that people talk about safety, right? Of like they need a Micah Hyde replacement and a Jordan Poyer replacement. It's like you need safeties that are interchangeable. You don't need there's no like Micah Hyde was not like center fielder only and Jordan Poyer was box safety only. They moved those guys around. That's what made that back end of that defense work, was that you could do those rotations with those guys and keep offenses guessing about where they would end up.
Yeah. And I think that's something I expect more of with Babbich's McDermott or Babbich's defense, whoever's calling the plays. Again, like I think there's more of an effortless, not necessarily to be positionless, but to really have versatility. And they talk about that all the time on both sides of the ball. So I think I love Rook as a prospect too. And I think it's one of those things where like I would support and get behind really any of the options I've listed, but I think I'm going to go with Jenkins. I'm just going to take Chris Jenkins. No ifs, ands, or buts. Gavel down. Let's move on. We're at pick 78 next. So let's see what happens. What does our board look like? Spencer Radler. No. So you got Jalen Wright if you want to take a running back early. Max Melton's on here. Gabriel Murphy. If you're feeling the receiver double dip, you got Corley and Thrash here. Benson. But then there's Cameron Kitchens, who at this spot in the draft, I would have a hard time passing up on Cam Kitchens. But what do you guys think? Thomas, I'll start with you this time.
I totally was talking and realized I was muted. So negative 10 points from Gryffindor. That being said, I am cool with, I like the wide receiver. I like Jamari Thrash. I'm guessing Javon Baker was taken already.
Let's see. Actually, yes, Giants. Pick 70.
Jerks. I like Cam Kitchens there. I think that's a good spot. I think that's not a bad move. I think Jamari Thrash would be a lot of fun too. I think he would fit this offense. If you wanted to do, Malachi Corley he could really do, especially with the new kickoff rules. I feel like he could be your Cordero Patterson, but you could also utilize him kind of in that the vein of what they're going to do with, Joe Brady and this offense and Curtis Samuel and getting really creative. So I think any one of those, but if you do Cam Kitchens, you're talking about a guy that knows our defensive backs coach, can step right in day one, be one of your starting safeties. Now, the only question I have is what's happening with Micah Hyde.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening with Micah Hyde.
Right.
So, but if you want to roll into the year with Taylor Rapp, Micah Hyde, Mike Edwards, and Cam Kitchens, and say, hey, best two beats out, and then have a really good safety depth, I'm cool with that too.
Yeah, I think because the thing with me with this Kitchens pick too is like Mike Edwards, you can move him around a bit. I know he can play deep, but you could also have him in the box and he can kind of fill in where you need him to. I honestly think you can do that a little bit with Rapp too. But Kitchens feels to me like you would have stability in the back or the center field if you needed it. So that would be my justification. David, what do you think? Is this something you would do, or do you feel differently with our board?
I like taking Cam Kitchens here. You have Taylor Rapp for 3 years. Clearly, this team likes him enough to give him a contract for the next couple of years. I'm fine with that. Mike Edwards is only on a 1-year deal, and he had a 1-year deal with Kansas City last year. If he plays well again for the Bills this year, he might just end up pricing himself out of Buffalo. So then you have to think about, okay, so that means you need to have somebody waiting in place. And if you want, let's be honest, this is not going to be an easy defense to just like walk into as a rookie, even if your defensive backs coach is now your NFL defensive backs coach as well. So I think that there's something to be said about getting a guy that can sort of sit and wait, similar to what like the Chris Jenkins pick would be, right? Where you don't need Cam Kitchens or Chris Jenkins to be studs right now, and if you let them wait a year, then you can, and then you get into next year and you don't have Austin Johnson, you don't have Mike Edwards, you still have Daquan Jones, but now you can feel comfortable about putting Cam Kitchens next to Taylor Rapp,
right,
and just let it roll from there. So I like this a good bit. I do want to look at where the interior offensive linemen are at, though.
I could check you. Hang on 1 second. IOL. We got Christian Mahogany,
Uh-huh,
Cedric
uh-huh,
Van Pran,
uh-huh,
Mason
uh-huh.
McCormick, Bo Limmer, Cooper Beebe, or is it Beebe? I don't know. Zach Zinter,
Some interesting names.
Bebe?
Bebe,
Cooper Bebe?
Beb, Zach Zinter, Drake Nugent, Trevor Keegan, Hunter. Yeah, this is like starting to drop a bit in value, but
Yeah.
I like Cooper Beebe
So,
as a later option if he's still
sure.
there.
I'm only on Cam Kitchen, so I'm good with
All
that.
right. Chat, we're doing Cam Kinchins. I see a lot of you support that pick too, so thank you. We're going to take it. All right, Cam Kinchins, you are a Buffalo Bill. Let's see if that happens in real life, but we'll see. But everybody, while we wait for our next pick, I want to thank you all so much again for being here. This has been a very fun, chaotic episode. And David Thomas, I appreciate you being my guest. And all your suggestions are also greatly appreciated. So I just want to answer this real fast from Roy. Are you concerned with Kinchin's lack of speed? No. I think he tested poorly, but his game film is not slow. I mean, he's the type of guy that just has a high enough IQ where he can replay his routes and be in the spot where he needs to be, to a point where I think the processor is so fast that it makes up for any lack of speed he might have. I think people are going to get snake bitten by the RAS score, but not realize that he, for someone that's going to be coached up in a safety friendly defense by Sean McDermott and their DB's coach, especially one that knows him from college, to me, it would be a no brainer pick. And I think he'll do quite well in the NFL. So hope that answered that one.
So on top of all that, which is all good points to be made, 40-yard dash times for safeties is just like there's a sort of misconception because like you assume, okay, a defensive back, they need to be really, really fast. But if you look at a lot of safeties that are like high-end safeties in the NFL, they're not burners by any means at all. Like, they're 4.5, 4.6 type of guys. Like, Kyle Hamilton was one of the best safeties in the NFL last year. And he ran, what was it, like a 4.71 at the combine or something like that?
I think so. I have to check.
Yeah. So, yeah, you'll forgive me if I just don't care about that.
To further your point, David, Micah Hyde had a 4.56. Jordan Poyer had a 4.54. So,
yeah. And Micah Hyde didn't have a good RAS either when he was in it. So, I mean, I think they value it, but I also think it's value to a point, because if the game film to them jumps off and they feel like they can mold it up, then I don't think it's going to be something that sets him back if he's on the board. But I will say this, our board right now, as we enter, I see one glaring option that I would take in a heartbeat right here, but I'm going to ask you guys before I even reveal it. David, I'll start with you here. I'm sorry if the screen is too small. If you need me to read any, because
we're good.
But anything you see here that you're a fan of, I'm going very slow.
So if you go back up, because there's one guy that I'm okay. So there is one guy that I'm interested in. It's somebody that I took in last night's draft, and that is Will Shipley from Clemson.
Okay.
I like Will Shipley. I've kind of been a fan of Will Shipley since he's been at Clemson. Just a very solid, good all-around back. But he, to me, brings that sort of added physical element to the running game that James Cook doesn't have. And I think regardless of Cook or Shipley on the field, these are both guys that are going to be able to get you those 10 to 15 yard type of runs, and Cook has the speed to get you more than that. Shipley doesn't. That's his and you see it on tape with Shipley. He does not have great speed, but he does bring that physicality. Now, some people say Braylon Allen is better. Yeah. That's fine. Maybe that's true. I also haven't watched Braylon Allen, so how am I supposed to say that? You know, I don't want to be a liar out here.
I think that was my argument I was going to make, is my guy is Braylon Allen for the reason of I want the bruiser, but I think his frame is bigger and more imposing. I think that's really my thing with it. It's just like the way he tested the speed he has, but also the size to match it would make him an awesome complement to Cook. Yeah. I think it's just finally addressing the problem of being able to find stability at your rotational back position that isn't just, speed or like finesse or a little bit of power, but someone who's like a true hitter. Like that's kind of the physics. If you're talking about trying to, make the offensive line play a bit more physical. Maybe some of the adjustments they made were for that reason and coaching them up to play that way. I think the best compliment to that, apart from having obviously Cook, who is a dynamic playmaker, but someone who is just a truly physical bruising back. So Allen's my pick here. But Thomas, you got anybody you see on this list you want me to keep scrolling?
Yeah, I like Muhammad Kamara. Just a relatively just kind of plug and play defensive end. I don't think he's going to be a stud by any sorts. He might be above. I mean, you never really know how they translate, but good size, good speed, physical. I think he fits what they like in terms of the archetype for defensive end. He kind of reminds me of AJ Epinesa, to be honest with you, but I think he's a good one. I wouldn't be surprised if they liked Kalen Carson. I think adding to that cornerback room is not a bad one. The big name that everybody's been going, Braylon Allen, he's just a freak, purely just a physical freak. So I think any one of those guys are good. The other one that's interesting is Isaac Guerendo. Had the fastest 40 time of any running back in the draft there. So I think there's a bunch of options. I'd be fine with anything.
Yeah, my view here was any one of the three of Kamara, Allen, and Carson, because I do think that CB depth would be a sneaky need too and something to consider early on. But I just think my logic with DB in any mock draft I do is I have just enough faith in them developing any sort of late round guy at this point where, like, if it doesn't get taken in the first 3 rounds, then it doesn't get taken in the first 3 rounds. I just saw them make Christian Benford a starter. I saw Levi Wallace and Dane Jackson be integral parts of the defense for the past few years. Like I'm it's not that I wouldn't do it. It's more just if I'm seeing other skill positions or other things that I think you could immediately address, I'll go for that first. Braylon Allen is my pick. I will say, though, I love Kamara. Why I'm not taking him here is because our next pick's 133. I think in a lot of drafts I've done, he's made it there. So I'm of this mindset that if I take Allen, I don't think I'll lose out on Kamara, but I would lose out on Allen before I'd lose out on Kamara, if that makes sense.
Before you make that pick, though, can you see what wide receivers are available?
Of course I can. Oh, that's the trade
dip
button.
On wide receiver?
He might want to double dip. Give this man a Zen because he wants to double dip. So
you got Cornelius, which is not a bad one. Really nice wide receiver there.
Josh Washington, I like. Luke McCaffrey. I don't know enough about these guys, the Illinois guys.
I mean, Cornelius is not a bad option there, to be honest with you. It's obviously a little bit later in terms. I think he's ranked 139. It's really irrelevant though. So I mean that's an option. I think that like I said, there's a couple things. You might even what's the next pick? 133. You could probably get Cornelius at 133.
I think you would too. Yeah, that's kind of it too. Is like I'm a bit more comfortable with like kind of passing up on someone because I think these options, a lot of them are going to be there. If Kamara goes, he goes. But I think Allen is more likely to be poached before you would lose Kamara. I don't know if Minnesota took a running back in this draft, but if they didn't, I feel like they would, and it would be him. And I've seen that scenario happen before. So I just think because of that reason, I am going to go ahead and take Braylon Allen. That is my take here. Real fast, I saw someone ask if Malik Washington is still there. I think he got taken. He did get taken, yeah, because he would be way higher here. But Taj Washington's still there. I like him too. But yeah, I think I'm doing Braylon Allen. So is that good with you boys?
It's your draft. You go for it.
Listen, I like asking. You're in the room. I can't totally.
You asked me. I gave you my opinion. You make the pick. You're the GM. I'm just the lowly scout.
Well, no, I got fired. All right, Braylon Allen it is. I've been fired like 5 times. So, Kamara got taken by the Ravens, so unfortunately he is gone. So my risks did not pay off. I apologize to the Kamara fans. So now let's look at our boards. So we got Travis, who no. Shipley, no. Guerendo, no. Cedric Gray, if you want to do linebacker depth, but I don't think I would. I kind of like Josh Newton here, but let me read a little bit more because I can't remember if he's the one. See, I have cornerback is the one position group right now that I barely tapped into just because I've been looking at D-line more, edge more, receiver more. So I don't want to accidentally take a nickel and get yelled at for taking a nickel.
Cornelius Johnson's it's not a bad selection there either. 6'3", 212, 4'4", 40. I mean, he'd be your X receiver. He'd be your boundary receiver.
Yeah, but I think Ladd kind of, it's not that it makes it redundant, but I feel like now that you got Samuel in this room, I think they're going to take 2. I don't know when they would do the second pick, but I feel it could be later on. I'm just not sure if I want to take Cornelius Johnson over maybe like another defensive player, maybe even going corner here. Like there's still a fair amount of D linemen. Kalen King's here. I know Kalen King's an option. If I remember correctly, he's a primarily boundary guy. Let's double check. Yeah. I'm liking corner here. David, what do you think?
I don't mind taking a corner here. There's definitely it's a somewhat crowded room, but it's also a room that could use another body anyway, right? Like you have Elam, you have Benford, and you've got Douglas, but it becomes a little dicey if one of those guys gets hurt, and I don't like the idea of Jamarcus Ingram being the next man up, essentially.
And before you ask, Roy, why ask Joe if you pick who you want anyway? Take a vote. Listen, I just want to get the input. That's all. It's a room of people. I just want to hear what everyone says. I feel like we've been fairly, well, not for everything, but decently unanimous on this. So if we have to take a vote because we're so torn, we will. I do like that suggestion, though. And this is one that I did see, Mason Smith. I do like that option. I do. And I've heavily considered it because I know that the ACL tear that he went through kind of not negated, but like essentially made him less valuable. But prior to that was shaping up to have first round value. So I get the idea of taking the steal. So I am kind of, this is tough. I'm leaning towards Josh Newton or honestly taking the far. Cause when do we pick again? 144. What is his value at right now? Cause I have to play the PFF board. I'm not saying this would happen in real life, but he's literally valued at 144. I think, fuck it, Mason Smith. Sorry, taking him. Sorry, I caved into the chat. I had to do it. To do it.
I took Mason Smith in my mock last night. So.
And you want to know something? Kalen King's there here at 144. So look, it paid off. I hope I made you all happy. I hope I put some warmth in your hearts. Somebody said trade down. I am not trading down again. We still have, how many picks do we have left? No, we have 7 more picks. We're good on trading down, bro. I want to just take picks and actually pick the players. So I see Galen King. I also see Xavier Thomas, which is an intriguing edge depth option. Taj Washington is still on the board. So if you want like a gadget speedster, kind of like what you were talking about with Johnson Thomas, I'd be kind of with this too. Zach Zinter for guard depth if you want to address the O-line. David, I'm going to start with you. Who do you see on this board that you like? I see Mustafa's down there, but anyone that I haven't said?
Yeah, I'm interested in one of these offensive line at this point, but I also feel like there's other guys that you can get a little bit later. If you're going to take one, I guess it would be Zach Zinter.
Right.
But I don't feel like so strongly that I'm like, we got to take Zach Zinter now.
Right.
So there's nobody that's really like popping out to me at this point because we're 144 picks in and I don't have time to look at 150 plus players at this point in my life.
Yes, there are plenty of names on here that I have not gotten the opportunity to watch.
10 years ago, when I was a senior in high school and I had time between my 2 study hall periods to look at a bunch of players that I knew nothing about and tried giving my own thoughts on it, I'd probably have thoughts galore on this. But right now I'm just like, Drake Nugent. Wow. Trevor Keegan. So
I will say this about Zach Zinter. That's a pick that intrigues me, but his rank's 157 and we pick 160. So again, if you're playing the PFF way, it's likely that he could still be there. So I'm comfortable passing up on him to maybe go with either corner or be a little frisky and go with one more depth receiver just for the hell of it. Thomas, do you see anyone you like? What are you thinking?
I think there's some interesting options. I don't really know enough about Kalen King to give an honest opinion. I'd honestly probably go Taj Washington. And to be honest with you, I'd even go Malik Mustafa at this point. I think he'd be a really nice selection. You'd have 2 really good safeties for a long time. And I'm not entirely sold on Taylor Rapp. So you want to take one there, or you could really just wait and take one later. I don't think there is a, make or break necessity at this point. Zach Zinter, I think, is a fine selection there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of options. all over the place. I don't think trading back is really because you can only really sign so many guys
I
unless
know.
we're starting an expansion team. So
Yeah, I think I'm willing to wait for the guard and see if he stays around. So I'm going to take Taj Washington. Fuck it. We're doing that. We got to start coasting here, man. I didn't realize what time it was. We would have been not only fired, we would have been banned from the NFL for how long we're taking. It is.
I think Zach Zinter right there is a really
Yeah.
good selection.
Yeah, easy money. I'm not even going to think twice. We're taking Zinter. I'm going to say this. I think this board or this final mock draft is going to look really good. And not to toot my own horn. I'm pleased. I'm very pleased. And like you got Mustafa.
Toot our horn. We're all here, Joseph. It's not just
Yeah, that's
you.
right. I keep saying like I don't want to be rude, and then I just said it's my draft. But you know what? This is
Just
what
for
happens,
us.
by the way, everybody, when you are rushing to get home and your brain is still spinning because public transit has failed you. So I apologize for my very messy disposition this evening, but I like Mustafa here for safety depth and possibly box safety of the future. If you don't feel like Rapp is going to hold it down in the roller, if you feel like this guy can rotate, because this guy's a hitter. If there's one thing I know about Malik Mustafa, it's that he's an absolute hitter. He's a bruiser. He puts all of his effort. I don't care about his size. I think he's 5'10". It's what's listed here, but he is an absolute bruiser. If you're talking about physicality on the defense, I think taking him at this point in the draft would be one that I would consider. I mean, David, do you like Mustafa here? What do you think?
Sounds good to me. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a shorter safety that can hit. Sounds like a good special teams player to me, and I'm okay
Also
with
true.
that in the 5th round. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And my logic is maybe I don't know what his special teams experience is, but even if there's not much, I just
Don't care.
I
That's
was
your
gonna
job
say.
now. Once you're a
like-
5th round pick, that's something you have to learn.
Congratulations, you're hitting people.
Yeah.
Thomas, any opposition to Mustafa here?
No, I'd be fine with Mustafa. I mean, it's not really, again, not a huge necessity in terms of needs at this point, besides maybe like defensive end.
You see how like the light in all of our eyes and like the hype in all of our voices has just gradually gone down as we got into the end of this draft.
It's just like the actual draft. You spend like 45 minutes in pure ecstasy waiting for your team to make a great pick with their first pick. And then you get into like the hour 3 on day 3, and you're like, "Can this just be over with?"
Does he have consonants in his name? Great, pick him. I don't care.
DW is definitely gonna. I feel so bad because I feel like every single pick that I could have made that DW didn't like has happened, and I apologize. I thought Kamara would be there. I played the risky game. I will say this: Braylon Allen, I would love that in the 4th round. I think that's when we picked him. That's an option to me. That like if you're talking about adding weapons for Allen and you just want to make this offense more explosive and more physical, like I would be totally okay with passing up a Muhammad Kamara for that. That's just me. But let me see here. And yes,
Listen,
I
Black
also want to
Panther, we are trying our hardest to get here till 3 a.m. Okay, so
He's
don't be
giving me some great
disrespectful.
screenshots. He's giving me some great screenshots for this episode, so I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay,
Only 4 picks to go.
only 4 picks to go. Malik Mustafa, welcome to the Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
This is. I feel I want to meet someone who's actually sat at a draft for the entire thing. Oh man, Jalen Simpson actually fell down. Yeah. Marcus Harris. I know a little bit about Marcus Harris. If you're talking line depth, but we do.
MJ Devonshire is not a bad pick right there.
Brennan Jackson too. Edge depth if you're trying to go for that.
Or Hunter Noorzad. That's a really nice center option right there.
Projected 200. We have picked 200. Steel Chambers, best name in the draft.
Steel
I'm willing to bet that people
more than Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Kool-Aid McKinstry is a cool name, but Steel Chambers is just like intimidating. Like that's cool, and it kind of sounds like a cheesy porn star name, which I love. I think that's great. So I would not now, but maybe later in the draft, I would take Steel Chambers. But Devonshire is an option. I kind of want to go edge here, and I don't know if I want to go with Mr. JMU Jalen Green here. Let's see your measures. Let's see what you look like. 6'1", 245. So you're not the biggest in the bunch, but I'm sure he's got heart. And Brennan Jackson, 6'4", 264. I mean, I'm basing this I'm basing this purely on traits, and forgive me because I'm definitely size profiling here, but I'm gonna go Brennan Jackson at this spot.
I'm okay.
Yo,
with that.
have you guys heard? There's the football player. He's he play. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out where he goes to Louisiana Tech. His name is DeColdest Crawford.
Yeah.
Yes.
And his name is
love DeColdest
DeColdest to ever do it Crawford.
Legend. That's an
That's
absolute
unbelievable.
legend. He did it.
Man.
I think it was like an air conditioner commercial down there too.
Yeah.
Like legend. He's absolutely doing everything he needs to do and has the sickest name ever. I fully respect it. Devonshire's still here, by the way, but so is Darzad, and I think I would go for him before I'd go for the corner. So I'm going to go center here. Yeah, we've just got.
I really try not to yawn when I'm on screen, but I'm really struggling not to yawn, and I look like I'm so disappointed and like uninterested. But I'm just very tired.
We have.
If
two
anybody
picks,
is in here that has children, especially a 1-year-old that's sick, I'm holding myself together and yawning my best I can right now. I apologize.
You're doing great, but that's also because I'm looking at the screen, so I actually haven't seen you yawn. But Steel Chambers got poached right before us. Damn you, Denver! You suck. Yeah, I'm at a point right now where I'm just willing to take anybody here. So
have we taken a running back yet?
Yes,
that was
Braylon
Allen.
Okay.
If we didn't take
Tanner Bortolini right there.
Yep, that's exactly what I was looking at.
Because he's more than a center. He can go all over the line. So I'm willing to do that.
He's a 5-position player.
Just because we take a long time and we would have been fired doesn't mean we can't hit on somebody here. I mean, I'm sure we're capable.
Here we go.
Y'all want to take Tua's brother?
Yes,
absolutely not.
do. Let's be as petty as possible.
Oh my god. Oladapo. There's no way he's gonna fall this far down. Like there's some of these names I see, and I'm like, I see him on PFN, and they're in like the third or fourth round, sitting here at like 6 and 7. It's amazing. I'm gonna say this, but we're gonna do one more mock draft before the draft starts. Not tonight, obviously. That's gonna be a PFN draft because I want to see how that board plays out for us. But Khalid Duke is an option here.
By the way, guys, don't forget we are doing our second draft following this draft immediately.
Yeah, we're actually going for 3 more hours. Anthony said it was okay. Just kidding. Trajan Jeffcoat. Awesome name. I like that. Yeah, this is
just pick one because no one knows who they are.
I'm gonna stamp our shows like just to represent our show perfectly and take Tua's brother. We're doing it.
Let's do it.
All right, everybody. So we have finished our draft. Let's see the grade. Watch it be like a D-. It's a D- to a lot of people in our chat, but that's okay. All right. So Braylon Allen got a fat C+, a noticeably larger font than the rest for whatever reason. They're trying to tell us something. Maybe that was DW, but the C+ there. A, B+, B, yeah. So our final grade is a B+.
Not bad.
All right. I listen, if you told me this was going to be the Buffalo Bills draft and we got Jenkins and Mason Smith, but you added in a power back, obviously get Kinchins, who's been a top tier safety prospect since we started talking about draft, McConkey, who I'm a huge fan of, adding in Washington for that burner ability as well. You fortify some of your offensive line depth. Portolini, again, at list center, but he can go all over. Norzad, a center depth prospect. We could have, I think the only thing I would say, I wish Kamara fell. I would have taken him if he did fall at that spot. I'm kind of upset that he didn't. Black Panther, F+, thank you. But I'm honestly
like something about it.
There was a positive.
Something good about
there's
this,
something.
So
there's something here that he approves of, and I want to know what it is. But and we got puke emojis. You know what? I'm so happy that people hate this because it makes it much more funny when I post it later to Twitter.
There's nothing that like creates more like such strong feelings than mock drafts. Either people think this is amazing and you're brilliant, or you're just an absolute shitheel and you need to like reevaluate everything in your life.
I am so excited for when I do all my post-show stuff and I find all of the comments that I can just post as screenshots on Twitter later of like, you guys are all going to be fired, puke emoji, F+. Like, I love the hate. It is amazing. But my final statement on this, Thomas, I'll pass it to you, is I would be pretty pleased with this draft. I think it's, again, you got to look at how the Bills are currently constructed with how many starters are already on this roster and look at it as it's got to be depth or possible options that you're going to transition to the future starter role. And I think there's a lot of options here that could potentially do that. And for that reason, I think this would be something that if they did this in real life verbatim, I'd be pretty pleased. But what do you think?
I think it's fine, to be honest with you. It's a lot more. There's more question marks than pure bona fide starters in this draft. I mean, Cam Kitchens, Chris Jenkins, Lad McConkey, 3 solid picks at the top. And then you got a bunch of guys that are going to be plug and play depth. But to be honest with you, with the Buffalo Bills, that's what you're drafting more often than you're not. You're not going to be taking guys that are, day one starters. Very, very seldom, right, on this roster. So it's not a bad situation, but at the end of the day, you are at the mercy of how the board falls. And I think we did pretty good adding that extra, third round pick. I think that's a huge coup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was I was just torn on that trade back because I just love Murphy as a prospect, but it ended up working out very well. I think, again, if you can't get him, then I'm willing to fortify the depth there. And I think these options would do that. And Black Panther says the plus for the F plus was because we tried, guys. We put in some effort. There was an honest, concerted effort to pick some names. So for that, we did great. And I think we're the real winners here today. And then
as long as we had fun.
I like the draft minus the first pick. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Not everyone's on the Lad hype train. It's okay. I understand. But I am a huge Lad McConkey
A lot of people are wrong, too. That's fine.
I like the draft minus the picks.
I like the drafts minus the picks and the guys who picked them. But, guys, that was a ton of fun. I truly appreciate you being here. Everyone in the chat, I know this was a bit more of a laid-back episode tonight, but I appreciate you hanging in with us. I know not everyone liked it. Some people did like it, but I love the discourse. I appreciate your commentary. Again, even if you hated our mock draft, if you could drop a like on this video before you go, it is greatly appreciated. But Thomas, David, again, thank you. Thomas, I'll start with you. Where can the people find you here on Cover One?
You could find me on Twitter at the Thomas DeLoss. Right. I always struggle with this one. That thing. That's my name. You can follow me there on Twitter, and you can also find me every Thursday night. This Thursday night, 7 p.m. on the Cover One Sports Network, 7 p.m. on Buffalo Late Night. Come join me. It should be fun.
David, what about you, my friend?
You can find me on the Cover One Roundup, 7 p.m. on Monday nights with Uber Hansen. We have a whole bunch of hijinks and whatnot to go with our somewhat interesting analysis. And you can also find me at DFAUXY on Twitter. What's happening here?
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing there, Thomas. Oh, okay.
I'm doing his name. Before it's signed, I'm practicing.
Yeah, I tried saying the name and then my brain flatlined in the middle of that sentence. So I'm gonna get flamed. I'm gonna get flamed for that very badly, and I'm already wearing it. But no, guys, if you could do me a favor, apart from liking this video, but check out both of these guys' shows. They're a ton of fun to join. Thomas does a great job. David does a great job. Uber, obviously, he's not here right now, but he also does a great job as his co-host. And it's just, in the wake of draft season, you're going to get a bunch of fun insight from everybody here on the network, but especially these two guys. So do yourselves a favor and check them out. But for all of you tonight, truly appreciate you checking it out. I know that these mock drafts take a while and they can be painful for some or pleasant to others, but we appreciate you sticking around. I'll be back next week. But in the meantime, you guys enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Check out Anthony's show, which is immediately after this. I am out. Thomas is out. David is out. Have a great night, everybody. And go Bills. See you soon.
Go Bills.